Hi everyone, my project topic is the minimal spanning tree, Kruskal's algorithm, and the example to apply the minimum connector problem by these two concepts, which are a minimum spanning tree and Kruskal's algorithm. So in this part, for the minimum spanning tree, we need to introduce what is a directed graph first. So directed graph, it can also be called as a digraph, which means each edge of a graph G is directed. So for example, this is a graph G. It has three vertices, 1, 2, 3. And if we want to make it as a digraph, so we just simply add the direction sign on each edge. So that is a digraph. So very simple. And let's see, what is a tree? So tree means every two vertices are connected by exactly one edge, or we can call it a branch or a path. So they're all fine. So it's a connected and undirected graph. So undirected just means there's no direction sign on each edge, just like G. So G1 is a directed graph and G is undirected graph. And also the tree contains no cycle. So for example, for G1, this is a tree, right? Every two vertices are connected by one edge and there's no cycle. It's connected and undirected. So if we connect 3 and 4, that's not a tree because it has a cycle, right? So in G2, it's also a tree. And in G3, it's also a tree, but also a path graph. And there's no cycle, no direction sign. So that's the idea of tree. So after we know the idea of tree, so we need to know what is a spanning tree. So for spanning tree, let G be an undirected and connected graph. The spanning tree, we denoted it as a T, is a subgraph of G such that T contains all the vertices in G. And yeah, of course, T is a tree because T is a spanning tree, so T is definitely a tree. So for example, in graph G, if we want to make it a spanning tree in our G, we can draw this way. In T, I have drawn it in advance, so it's a T, but we can't connect 3 to 4 because it will make a cycle. That's not the definition of our tree. But in G, it has multiple spanning tree in this graph. We can also draw in this way: 1, 5, 5, 4, 2, 4, 2, 3. It's also a spanning tree. It contains all the vertices and no cycle. It has multiple ways to draw it. So, and for this example in G2, let's draw a spanning tree in this graph. So we can connect 1 to 6 first, 6 to 7, and 7 to 8, 6 to 5, 2 to 3. We can connect 8 to 9, and we cannot connect 5 to 8 because it will make a cycle, right? So we can also connect 5 to 4, and that's it. We connected all the vertices and there's no cycle graph. It can also be drawn like this way, right? And this way, right? it has multiple methods to draw the spanning tree in this graph. So that's the idea of spanning tree. So after we know the spanning tree, we can introduce the minimal spanning tree, the idea of it. So we let G be a connected, edge-weighted, and undirected graph. So what means edge-weighted? It means in every edge of G, there's a numerical value in every edge. So just like we showed in example 4, there's a numerical value in each edge. So it's connected, edge-weighted, and undirected graph. The minimal spanning tree is the minimal spanning tree T is a subgraph of G such that the sum of its edges has the minimum weight. And of course, T is a spanning tree because it's a minimal spanning tree, and of course it's a spanning tree. Yeah. So, for example, I believe some people may feel like what means the sum of its edges has the minimum weight. So for example, if we want to draw the minimal spanning tree, we need to make sure the sum of the weight is the minimum, is the smallest. So we can draw AC, we can draw AB, 1, 2, and 3, CD. That's the minimum spanning tree, right? So example 5, I will explain example 5 later, because the Kruskal's algorithm is very similar to minimal spanning tree. So let's talk about the applications of minimal spanning tree in real life. It can build a connected network, designing a circuit, taxonomy, and so on. A lot of examples. So for the first part, to build a connected network, the special example is the telecommunications company. If they want to lay the cables to a new neighborhood, and if they want, they can only bury the cables along the designed roads because of the restrictions. Then there will be a graph to represent which points are connected by those paths, by those roads. Some of the roads might be longer, or some of the cables need to be buried deeper, or hard to be installed, or the cost is expensive. So the minimum spanning tree will be useful for this for installing the cables in the neighborhood. It can calculate the fastest path, the minimum cost, or the most easy installation. Yeah. So our next part is the Kruskal's algorithm. It's very similar to find the minimum spanning tree. Yeah. So we need to find the minimum spanning tree in a connected, edge-weighted, and undirected graph. So how to find it? We have 4 steps to generate the minimum spanning tree. So the first step is to sort all the edges in the graph G. And the second step is to pick the edges from the smallest weight to the largest weight. The third step is to, when we pick the edges, we need to check if the new edges generates the cycle or loop. A loop means a vertex connects to itself. That's a loop. So if it does create the cycle or loop, then we need to skip the edge to pick another edge in order of the weight. But if it doesn't, then keep picking the edge And the last step is until we can find all the vertices are contained from G and is connected, then we can get the minimum spanning tree. So let's do an example to find the minimum spanning tree by those steps. So in example 6, first, to sort all the edges in the graph G, and we have done that. So the second step, pick the edges from the smallest weight to the largest weight. So the smallest weight is 2, right? It's BE. And the next smaller edge is AF or AB. It has 2 equal weighted edges, so we can randomly choose one of them. So it can be AF or AB, both fine. So after we found AF, we can find AB. The next part is there's a double 4, so we cannot choose FE because it will make a cycle, right? So that's the step 3. We skip this edge to pick another edge in order of weight. So skip this edge, we can find BC. And the next is 5, AG. And GF is not permitted because it creates a cycle, so skip it. And the next after 6 is 7, so CD. And the next is 9, but no, we skip it. But we have found all the edges or all the vertices, and there's no cycle, right? So this is the minimum spanning tree. So it's from the smallest edge to the largest edge. And by the definition, we need to make sure all the vertices are contained and there's no cycle. So it's not hard to find. And let's go back to our example 5. And it's also easy to find. So we can find AG, BC, FE, and there's a AH, right? GF, and CD, also CE. And the next part is, yeah, I think we finished, right? It contains all the vertices and there's no cycle. So this part, I create an original example to apply the ideas we just talked about, to apply this in the real life in some, but this example I don't think it will happen in our real life. Yeah, this kind of exaggerating. Yeah, so we suppose there's a man, he will never die, but he wants to do some crazy challenge. He wants to connect all the dots, and he wants to try to suffer the least damage by the animal. And in here we listed all the different animals on each path. So we have crocodile, elephant, baboon, snake, hippo, wolf, tiger, rhino, leopard, wild pig, lion, bear, killer bee. And in here there's no animal. So if you cross any path, if you cross the path that has animal on it, you cannot run away from the animal because they all have the faster speed and the path is very narrow. So some people may ask that the crocodile is the animal living in the river. In mainland, the crocodile will be very slow, but actually no. They actually run very fast on the mainland. They have the very high explosive power that people cannot even realize that they attack you. So yeah, and in here we have P and D in each edge. So we let P denoted as the probability of getting attacked, and we let D denoted as how painful of getting attacked by the animal. And of course, we need to consider these two cases together. So we need to combine these two values P and D together. So the words that I wrote in blue color is the value of P multiplied D. And I calculate this in advance in order to save time. So let's do it. So we can choose this one first. It's 0.09. It's the it's this one 0 first, and the next one is 0.09, 0.09, and the next is 0.14, and the next is 0.16, and the next is 0.1 or 0.24, 0.24, 0.25. We also have a 0.24 here, yeah, and 0.3, but it will make a cycle, so we skip this. I think the next one is 0.36, right? And the next one is, I think we finished. Yeah, we finished. There's all the vertices are connected, are contained, but there's no cycle, so we figured this out. And the reason is kind of a mess, but yeah. The reason that I come up with this example because I'm kind of interested in animals, and I kind of know some knowledge about their damage to human, and their and the probability that you might get attacked by what kind of animal. For example, the killer bee is very, very dangerous. The probability, I think it should be 1. It's definitely 100%, and the damage is very, very destroyed, devastating. Yeah. But, and also for the elephant, they normally will not attack people, but once, if they sometimes get crazy, or if you do something to make it feel angry, their damage is definitely also devastating. Yeah. So this is my presentation, and thank you for watching.